of the blues. A case of the blues. Mark Goldberg.
I'm a little blue. It's my job. It's been driving me crazy the past couple of months. I've been working 24/7, my stress level up to here. Have any of you guys ever had a job that made you a little blue? Anyone?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so you guys know what I'm talking about. Madam Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. I'm here to tell you that sometimes it's okay to be a little blue. Let me explain. When I was in college, my senior year, I took a class where we learned about different personality types. And each of us in the class took a 50 to 60 question questionnaire, multiple choice, and we filled it out, and based on our answers, we were categorized into one of 4 different color-coded personality types. So the first were the red people, and I knew that I was red, right? Because the red were the go-getters, the movers and shakers, the doers, the next titans of Wall Street. Red. After that were the greens. And the greens were the analytical people, the ones who liked numbers and data before they made any kind of decision. Then there were the yellows. And the yellows were the emotional people, the ones whose feelings led everything that they did. And then finally, there was the blue. And blue, right? These were the overgrown hippies, the community builders, the ones who would say things like, can't we all just get along? And there's no I in team. So I finished my questionnaire and I gave it to my friend who was sitting next to me to grade. But I knew what the answer was, right? I just wanted to hear him say it. So I said, well, and he looked at me and said, Mark, there's no doubt about it. You blew this out of the water. You are unequivocally a blue. Wait, but I'm a red, I said. He said, Mark, I didn't even have to grade this to know that you're blue. In fact, he had some friends on the other side of the room, and he called over them. He said, hey, guys, what color do you think Mark is? And in unison, they yelled, blue! I didn't understand. I was a mover. I was a shaker. I was studying Japanese. I was going to be an international businessman, a titan of Wall Street. But then actually, when I stopped to think about it, I realized that all these Wall Street jobs I was applying for, I wasn't getting any of them. And if I was honest with myself, I kind of wasn't even really enjoying the interview process. So then I thought about my Japanese professor, who had been encouraging me to accept an offer I had from the Japanese Ministry of Education to move to Tokyo, to become a high school teacher, to work with kids, become a cultural ambassador. So I moved to Japan, and I had the most amazing experience of my life. When I came back to the US, I had a newfound sense of government and international relations, and I decided to go to law school. 3 years later, I graduated with a mountain of debt, and I couldn't even get a public interest job. But I did have an offer from a corporate law firm that wanted to pay me to come represent big companies. So I said, okay, you know what, I'll do it for a year, maybe 2 times. 5 years later, I'm still in that job, and I'm actually doing pretty well. I'm on the partnership track. I'm representing big companies in exciting, sexy cases. I was on the Enron matter, I had a Supreme Court case, internet censorship, all kinds of cool things. But I was working 24/7, my stress level was up to here, and I barely ever saw my family, and I realized I was in the quintessential red job. So I made a change. I gave up my law practice, and I moved into management. I actually became an internal communications consultant. And I advised people in the company how to communicate their messages to employees. There's a lot of writing, a lot of editing, a lot of creativity, a lot of teamwork, and there were no I's in any of my teams. I loved it. I did it for 5, 6, 7 years, until I started to notice that all my friends from law school were starting to make partner in their law firms. And all my friends from college started getting these fancy titles like vice president and director, and fancy offices with big windows. And I let myself buy into the notion that if I didn't have a fancy title and a fancy office, that somehow I wasn't a success. So I let myself be wooed away by another company that made me their US Director of Communications, and I had a nice office with a window, and I worked with the chairman and the CEO, and I worked 24/7, and my stress level was up to here, and I barely ever saw my family and friends, and I don't think I unclenched since my first day. And seriously? I mean, how many times does it have to happen before it would get through? So some of you guys are sitting out there thinking, you know, I'm not so happy in my job or in my relationship or in the place I'm living or some aspect of your life. Ask yourself, are you a red or a green or a blue or a yellow? It doesn't matter, right? There's no right answer. There's a right answer for you. And I'm happy to say that this Director of Communications job, I quit 3 weeks ago. And next month, I start my new position, running a corporate wellness program, where I'm going to be putting together activities to help people focus on nutrition and health and de-stressing themselves and mindful living. So regardless of any changes that any of you do or don't make as a result of considering what your own personality type is and how it fits into your life, I just want to assure everyone that when it comes to your own happiness, sometimes it's okay to be a little blue.